Good Saturday morning. I'm meteorologist Byron Douglas. Hope everyone's doing well. We're not normally on doing a streaming here at 6:30 on a Saturday morning, but we have new data coming in. I'm going to walk you through the maps. And on the TV side, on the Today Show, we're going to have some cut-ins starting a little after 7 o'clock this morning. And then that goes until about 8:30 overall. And then we'll be right back here in the streaming room at 8:30. New data's coming in each hour. But I'm going to grab this for you so you can see it. Hey, give me your name and town. Let me know where you're from. And we're going to depend on you quite a bit in the next few days for snow totals, snow reports, road reports, things like that. So I want to really let you just absorb this graphic. We moved the totals around just a bit. We're going to try to go county by county here. And again, very treacherous travel conditions tonight and then for tomorrow. I think during the day here, we're looking at several inches of snow, but I think we can work with that here during the morning hours. And I might come back and revisit this, and we'll still have some folks on. This is the largest winter storm warning I've seen. Been doing this for almost 35 years. It stretches directly from Durango and then Silverton, Colorado, all the way up into Vermont, into the Green Mountains there. Of course, it covers our area. So again, tricky travel, especially across our area and points to the south. And this is going to go winter storm warning. This comes from the National Weather Service. This will go until 6 p.m. All of our cities and towns. And we'll go a little linger into Monday morning for our eastern counties up through Jasper. Here's a look. Most everything is going to be snow at the beginning, and then snow will kind of build throughout. I didn't include a cloud chart, but the clouds are about 15,000 feet. So they're not going to yield more than flurries until those clouds get down to about 2,000 to 3,000 feet, and that will be during the afternoon. And then we have that ice component generally late tonight and then early on Sunday. Really concerned about Hopkins, Muhlenberg, and Ohio counties on the latest information I'm getting this morning. I'll bring you up to date on that. So we're going to walk you through the snow reports, but we're also going to look at the ice potential as well. Again, this graphic comes from the National Weather Service. A shout out to them. They've been working hard, all the offices across the country, but our National Weather Service office in Paducah, shout out to our partners there and their 22 or so employees. But major impacts are scheduled. And here's a look at the snow. Now I went through all the cities and towns and the guidance here for Evansville. And if there's an over and under, it's about 10.5 inches of snow, plus or minus. If you had to just pick an average, 10 in the hook, 10.5. But a lot of the areas in that 7 to 12, then 9 to 16 in magenta includes Evansville, Henderson, Jasper, Heinberg. And so that's kind of the range that we're looking at. Lesser amounts, early in the week, we thought the high-end amounts would be across western Kentucky, but you guys have more of a sleet, and that will zap some of the snow totals there. But everybody's going to get some snow. On the board, if you have any reports of any flurries, in fact, I'm going to take this full and see if we have any reports. If you have any reports, if there's nothing going on, I'd appreciate those. That's a tremendous help overall during that stretch. So if you have any reports concerning that, that would be a big help overall. And so we'll continue to look for those. And again, on Doppler radar, I'll just widen it out just a bit. Doppler radar, getting some returns down into Dallas, those areas there in purple, magenta, those items there where you're seeing that component there of some freezing rain and sleet down through Louisiana. So just kind of setting the national scene there. And we'll widen it out just a bit. We're at 10. The air is too dry at 51%. The clouds are too high. When you snow forecast, I'll go out and look at the cloud layers here until those clouds lower about noon, 1 o'clock. Then we'll start to yield some snow. And it'll be very light at first. That's that Arctic air in place. It's in here, and we talked about for a few days. It was going to be in here and just waiting, kind of setting up shop. Feels like -7. So I'm just going to go through some of the temperatures here. We're at 10 in Evansville, 13 in Madisonville, 9 in Oakland City. So bundle up with the hat and gloves. We've talked about it. The record snowfall for this date is about 2.5 inches. Jeff left me a note set back in 1979. That's scheduled to go down today. -5 and up as high as 2 above. And it's going to even get colder. I'll include a few more towns at 8:30, but I'm going to give you Evansville here. And this should match up what we have on the 14 First Alert weather app. By the way, on the app, what we forecast here is what you're going to see on the app. So we go virtually hour by hour. So into the teens, and then we start to get some solid returns into the afternoon. Again, 1 to 2 inches The snow, your travel time could double in some, maybe you have an afternoon wedding or you have to be out. We know some folks delivering all the goods out there. Surgeries are still going on today. We know folks have to be out working. So during the daylight hours, I believe it's manageable. A couple of inches of snow. We won't have any ice during that time frame as well. There's look at Madisonville. You guys will start to see the returns initially down through Sturgis, Sullivan, in those locations. A little bit later for Jasper and Owensboro. So most of the snow during the afternoon, and I've included about 1 to 3 inches. And then we'll have a grand total for you. A heavy snowfall, 4 to 7 inches during that time frame. Tonight, a lot of it late tonight. Snake Eyes down to 11. And those wind chills slightly below 0. And then tomorrow, 4 to 8 inches overall. Really it'll taper off a bit during the afternoon. Timeline coming at you in a moment. But a good north wind there at 10 to 20 with temps in the teens. I'm using the graph model here. So we're going to go hour by hour. Again, I mentioned those cloud layers overall. They're high base clouds now. So you might see some snow. I was like, whoa, is that going to yield some totals? Maybe just a few flurries. This takes us to about 11 this morning. So this is just a little bit earlier from when I was in looking at this here about 3 this morning. Then some returns in during the afternoon, lesser as you get north there of Interstate 64. And then some snow in during the afternoon. And then where it's all shaded in, it's all snow. But then here comes the areas there in pink, that sleet and freezing rain component. And it's been inching a little farther to the north over the in recent days here. But now we're going to get the ground truth as we go through that time frame. This takes us into Madisonville, Rumsey, Calhoun, into McLean County, maybe eastern Davis County. Now this is the in-house guidance that we're using here. And then solid snow as we go Sunday morning. And then we'll take a look at some of the raw numbers here. And again, we don't often just show the raw data, but I'm going to show you a couple of the models. I'm going to show you the in-house guidance and then also the European. I'm not going to show there's 6 or 7 we look at. You can look up to 20, but I think we'll get it. So as we go to the afternoon, this is kind of in the dusting deluxe range, but it's going to build and then we'll be looking at the cloud layers and the moisture content during that time frame. So this takes us to 5, 6 o'clock. So during this time frame, 1 up to 2 inches of rain, of snowfall, and I left a range there of about 1 to 3. So you can see your city and town pretty much, that's what we're looking at. Then it builds in here tonight, 8, 9 o'clock. Again, if you're done with everything by this evening, this is when snow ramps up tonight. This is where I think we could even see some thunder snow during this time frame as we go through tonight. And then you see the double digits. Remember I gave you that kind of that 10.5 across the area. Lesser amounts for Madisonville, Greenville, because that's the sleet and freezing rain. I'll get to that in a moment. So this fits in line, maybe a little bit out with the dry air, a little off the top, but we do have that potential for over 1 foot of snow. Now, what I'm concerned about, that sleet line wants to get into Evansville, Henderson, and Owensboro, and I want to show you some of this guidance. But Madisonville, Greenville, and then into Hartford, these totals, on Tuesday and Wednesday was showing 0. It was going to keep everything Bowling Green and points to the south. But there is that component late tonight and early tomorrow. And look, Hopkinsville, you get into Central City, Greenville, even into Calhoun, traveling will almost be impossible if this would verify. Hopefully it does not. But you see those areas there in magenta, then even over a half-inch ice. This is where in Muhlenberg County, Hartford, Madisonville, you need to fuel up the generator. You get that done here this morning. Follow all the rules, and if you would lose power in these areas. All right, widening it out. I'm using the European snow model here. I'm just going to kind of run this along. And you see some high totals, again, matching what I just showed you. And I believe that was the graph model. 14. This might be a little on the high end overall, but we do have the potential less points to the south. So these might be overwhelming to look at, but we've talked about this now for a few days. And that's why we do give you a range. And here's a look at the next 7. I'm going to take this full, and then it'll afford me to look at my phone as I spin plates here. As I mentioned, we're going to have another streaming here at 8:30, and then on the Today Show between 7 and 8:20, we'll be doing cut-ins on the Today Show, and then I'll be right back in here at 8:30. All right, let me take this full here so you can absorb the 7-day. And I've talked for a few days. If you've seen me on Sunrise, we probably haven't cut temperatures enough as we go into Monday. But the point I want to make overall with this is you look at the 7-day. Yeah, I'm getting a shout out to the road crews. Missy in Hartford, good morning to you. Roger, good morning to you. You're getting some snow there, Charlene, in Rabbit Ridge, all right? And it's probably just flurries, but let us know. All right, we'll keep checking our app. Dawson Springs has snow. Jonah, I do appreciate that, coming down there in Nelson Creek. So there's the 7-day. And I'm going to go out, and we're going to go back, and I'm going to go back and query the radar here. So let me go and do that. I'm going to go take you up to the top, because we have a lot of folks on. So the Today Show starts at 7, so I can be in here a few more minutes. And I believe I'll tighten that radar up just a bit. So again, bear with me. May not always be pretty when I'm working in real time, but thank goodness everything is working here this morning. So I'm going to just tighten up the radar. And we're getting some returns down in Dawson. Again, if you have snow reports of just flurries, it really helps us match up what we have with the temperatures overall. Okay, we'll go back and look at Doppler radar. Okay, I'm up for air. So if you're just joining us here on the stream, and we get a question, why do you give us a wide range? Well, there's multiple, but look, 7 to 15. We get about 9 to 10 for an entire season. And then we have the dangerous cold. Again, Hopkins, Muhlenberg, Ohio, McLean, Southern Davis counties, we have that sleet potential. And what I didn't mention here earlier, I'll take this full, is some of the guidance was showing some sleet getting into Evansville tonight, almost to central Vanderburgh County, Warwick, so getting north of the Ohio River. And that would take, this is where we'll go hour by hour, that would take a little zip out of some of the snow totals. So if we get that sleet and then some possible freezing rain. So just as a heads up, if you have a big four-wheel drive, you know it's not going to work in ice if we would pick up any ice. So we've pretty much gone by county. We'll have new information coming in. Arden's going to come in at 9. She does a great job. She's going to redraw some of these maps. So the areas are in magenta 9 up to 16. And I just showed you as we went town by town. Maybe a little less now in Madisonville, Central City, and Greenville, but you have that ice kicker in here for tonight potentially, and then early tomorrow. I'm going to highlight the temperature. So we are starting to see some returns, but we still have to saturate lower levels of the atmosphere. So getting some spotty returns down in Dawson Springs. I meant to queue up a visibility map. I'll do that at 8:30. A lot of times we use that for fog, but the visibility map, if you see 10 miles, which across the area we're at 10 miles, and then down in Paducah, if it's at a mile, then you pretty much can deduce that we're seeing some snow that's cutting into visibility. And here is a wide view. And someone mentioned we haven't talked about the blowing snow at all, and we do have that potential because winds today will be about 20 miles an hour. And we'll really notice it tonight. Not the blizzard-like conditions where you have winds at 35, at 20 miles an hour, generally will blow and drift. It'll be tough to measure, but if you're driving, that gets into your windshield and you can't see. And we've already had problems up in South Bend in northern Indiana, the snowstorm in December on I-70 where it got into visibility and there were numerous accidents. And there was a up in Wisconsin on the interstate, they had that as well. So interstates are really tough. I know if you're a truck driver, you're out there, that's your office. I understand that, but just keep in mind the blowing and drifting of snow, which usually is not a problem around here. So we're at 10, -5, humidity's at 51%. The clouds are too high where I don't think we'd see any accumulation outside of a dusting here until about lunchtime. There's a look at the temperatures. There's a look at the wind chill guidance. So we're going to be well below 0 overall. And then this will be my last graphic. I'm going to take this full and see if we've had any, because this is where we need you guys on the spotter reports because it helps us verify on the radar. So it helps out. So, all right, Joshua, a little snow there in sticking to the pavement in Central City. That is good to know. Snow flurries from Lauren and Madisonville. Thank you. Nothing in Newburgh yet, Ray. That's good to know. Betsy, how are you? Somebody's Tabitha, thunder snow in 94. I remember it in 2004 because we were out and it scared me. There was quite a bit of lightning on that night back on December 22nd. Greenville, if you're traveling to Greenville, if you get, it's okay, my fiance is traveling to Greenville. If you get off of work at 5:30, there won't be any ice in there at that time frame in Greenville. So we know folks are, they're working a shift, they get off work, and as I mentioned, I think it's manageable, through 8, 9 o'clock tonight. Again, I want to get in trouble because it's not recommended, but we all can work with a couple of inches of snow. Your travel time can double, and 1 to 3 inches. But on the secondary roads, of course, with some snowpack, and I didn't do all the math, but it kind of will fit the range. And then I picked up the snow rates down to 11 tonight during that stretch. And then for tomorrow, heavy snowfall, it's 16. All right, I'm just got to keep an eye on the time because I got to get, they told me you got to be ready on the TV side. I'll be ready for that. And then we'll be right back in here at 8:30, and I'll try to get a new push alert out on just kind of hitting some of the bullet points as folks start to wake up. But overall, it's a major winter storm. We do have that icing element overall. Snow will pick up tonight and tomorrow, and then some snow during the day, during that stretch. Well, let's see what the timeline. This takes us to 8:30, and then some snow builds in here during the afternoon. So I appreciate all of you. Thanks for downloading the app. We're on the TV side as well. We'll have more. I think I'll be on the air on the TV side about 14 WFIE. Thank goodness there's no football games on, but about 7:15, and we'll have coverage there until about 8:30. I'll be back in here at 8:30, and just want to give you some of the coming attractions. And I know we'll definitely be back in here at lunch. So we're going to be with you until this event is over. Kind of treat it like we live in Minnesota, South Dakota, Michigan, Wisconsin, northern Indiana, because our temperatures are going to fit what they have. We're going to be well below normal all the way through perhaps next weekend. Where we don't even work above freezing. So those are some of the things we have to look forward to. I will take this graphic full. We will talk to you soon. Be safe out there.